episode 126 of the podcast. This week I'm going to give you some examples from my own week. I think that it'll help you figure out how you're going to use this in your day-to-day life. You're listening to the Creating Great Grooming Dogs podcast. I'm Chrissy Newmeyer-Smith. I'm a certified professional groomer, a certified behavior consultant for canines, a certified professional dog trainer, and the owner of Happy Critters in Nashua, New Hampshire. And this, my friends and colleagues, is the podcast where grooming and training meet. This week, I want to give you some examples. Now, I had 3 pretty good examples this week. One was a home that I'm brand new to with a customer with 3 Cavalier King Charles Spaniels. Now, my first intake when I'm talking to people before I meet their dog is talking about my safety policy, is explaining what I'm going to do if their dog is having difficulty, if their dog is overexcited, if their dog is worried, if their dog is scared, if their dog is aggressive, what I'm going to do, how I'm going to proceed. Now, as a house caller, I also get a chance to find out which dogs are a little bit nervous and maybe try to make a game plan. So in this particular case, one of her young dogs is about 2 years old, and he is really nervous. He also has a heart condition and some other problems. He's had luxating patella surgery, things like that. The second one, who's about the same age, a little bit nervous but not quite as scared, also has some heart conditions. I know they're Cavalier King Charles, so they have that. It's kind of common for them. And then their third dog, who's about 5, is totally deaf. But otherwise, normally pretty good for grooming. So talking to this owner and explaining how I'm going to proceed, but also the ways that I might modify our first grooming, knowing that her dogs are likely to need some extra care, and that even though they've been groomed before, I guess they have done some screaming that she knows of, but I'm not sure she would have mentioned those things to me if I hadn't brought it to her attention that this is really important from my end. I want to know how her dogs deal with grooming. I want to know that one of the dogs screamed bloody murder, I guess, at the vet's office for nails. But also, we came up with a plan knowing that the trim might not look gorgeous, that's not our main goal. And we agreed on that before we even set up the appointment. And that's what's really important, is to make this part of the way you run your business and the way you run this lifestyle. Okay. Now, people who aren't groomers might not realize that dog grooming is a lifestyle, but it is such a huge part of what you do every day that to set it up to be the most successful version is really, really important. So what I want her to know is that this is a progressive process, right? I want to make progress with these dogs so that next time they do even better, and the time after that, even better. So we decided that the one who is likely to scream would be done after the one who's just shy and nervous. And the one who is totally deaf and doesn't seem to care about everybody else and is totally fine with it would be last, right? So we took our quiet, nervous dog, did that one first. Got kind of used to the idea of so house call, I usually do bath first. Bath first so that any hair that might fly around is going to be clean hair. When I turned on the dryer, a little bit scared. That's all right. We went gradual, and then we put that dog down and let that dog air dry. We had already talked about it, even though that's going to affect how beautiful that trim could be later. This is a first impression with this new groomer. So we're going to let that dog air dry a little bit. Put the next kiddo in, who is the one who is known to scream when he gets worried. I put him in the sink. He was fine for his bath. Put him on the table, turned on a dryer, screamed for a second, put that dryer back down, right? I adapted to what this dog can handle. It's not about letting a dog scream and hope that he gets used to it or calm him down while he's screaming. Ideally, we don't want him to scream. Right? We want to remain calm, comfortable, and cooperative and not push him past his boundaries. So I lowered the dryer, I did lower the setting, but I also lowered it down from the table, right? Lifted it back up onto like a back foot, which is usually where I would start with a dog who I'm not sure how they're going to handle the dryer, but only worked on what that dog could handle, knowing that we had already talked about it. I'm going to let this dog air dry and then do the third friend. Okay? So I let this dog air dry. I brushed him out, and I know she said that he has problems with his armpits. And I'm like, you know what? That could be a lot of things. So this is my thought process. And that's what I want you guys to be hearing this week, is how I handle it and what my thought process is. My thought process is, this is a dog who gets really easily frightened, worked up, and has had knee surgery on one knee, and the other knee is ready for it too. So in his past, when someone has tried to do something with his armpit, it probably required him to balance on the other three legs. So I sat him down and I dematted those little tiny mats in his armpits with him sitting down. And he was fine. Slow, gentle, methodical, but also making the dog's physical comfort a priority. And that should be done for all the dogs. I really feel strongly about this. We have enough time to make the dogs comfortable. And if you don't, I want you to rethink your scheduling and your pricing, because this shouldn't be something that's terribly uncomfortable for them. We should be thinking about helping them be comfortable. So, next step is I put him down, put the third guy up, who's 5 years old, a little bit older than the other two, and totally deaf. Who was a rock star. That dog's like, yeah, whatever. We're doing dryer, we're doing clipper vac. I didn't even try clipper vac on the other two. No, they are Cavaliers, so they weren't getting anything super, super short. Because I just feel I do not want to shave double-coated breeds. But I did use a clipper vac and use the 1-inch comb on their body. And actually, we trimmed up around their legs fairly short. They looked almost like mini Aussies when I was done. Not my favorite look, but we tried to make them look adorable. But this dog was like, yeah, clipper vac, dryers, whatever. Grinding toenails, no problem, whatever. But the other dogs, what I found was that the other two instead of being out in the other room with their mom, they chose to be in the room with me and observe what was happening. So that's kind of cool, and that's kind of interesting. So I want you to think about all that stuff going on at once. Here are 3 dogs, 2 of which I knew were going to have an issue, and the third one, not real sure. Because honestly, most of our owners have not experienced what their dog goes through for grooming. And there is still a lot of groomers who don't talk to owners about if their dog had a hard time. I really encourage you guys to talk to owners about if their dog is having a hard time, and that is exactly how you word it. Not, he was bad today, or he doesn't like. Say, you know what, he had a hard time with something I was doing. Let's try to sort this out. So these 3 dogs got finished, looked cute. When I put them back on when I put them back up on the table the second time, I gave a little bit more exposure to things like the dryer. Why not? It's a second round, right? We can get multiple repetitions in one grooming setting, positive repetitions that were calm and cooperative. Okay, great, let's do that. So I did it again, turned on the dryer again, but my goal was not to get them dry, just a little bit more exposure to the sound of a dryer. So that was one of my groomings this week, and that owner was really happy with that. And her dogs did not reach a point that they couldn't handle, and her dogs were playing with me when I left. So think about the process starts before we even book it. Before we even see that dog, we start that process so that we're setting everybody up for a good day. If you're enjoying this podcast, please remember to subscribe so that you don't miss any episodes, and tell all of your friends. I have a few more examples from this week. So one, little Cairn Terrier. So Cairn Terriers, think, if you're not familiar with the breed, they're like Toto from The Wizard of Oz. So short legs. This is an older dog, and she's kind of stiff, but she has this history, this complains of, but this history that she's not necessarily good for her nails, not necessarily great for having stuff done. But I'm looking at her thinking, this dog looks stiff. Just the way she holds her body, just the way she moves her head around. Older, probably not seeing very well, maybe not hearing very well, kind of hard to say. But I need to be thinking about keeping her comfortable, because keeping her comfortable is going to be part of her behavior. Now, when we have a dog who's little sometimes we have to lift them around and move them around quite a bit to get clippers around them. So one of the things you can do to help an older dog be comfortable, or really any dog be comfortable, but some of these littler guys especially, is I want you to think about moving their legs around a lot probably causes a lot of discomfort. Again, calm, comfortable, cooperative. We're talking a lot about discomfort and comfort. But our clippers are longer than their legs, right? Maneuvering clippers around a small dog can be tricky. But if you guide her over to the edge of the table and you're holding underneath her, what I did was I held underneath her and I supported her weight. She's got 3 legs on the table and let one dangle. So for instance, I wanted to work on the right front leg. I'm letting the right front leg hover over the edge of the table so that my clippers can move around pretty freely and not have to worry about the table blocking the movement of my clippers. And she was actually really comfortable with that. I did that on all 4 legs, just moving her to the edge of the table so that she feels like she's secure. She can balance on the other legs, and I can move my clippers around pretty freely. Now, when it came time for nails, I like to do nails, if I'm trimming them, I like to do them from below. If I'm grinding, I like to do from above. So in her case, I was going to be trimming the nails. So I'm holding her body, and not just in terms of trying to restrain a dog. This isn't about restraint as much as this is about let me help you support your weight, guide your leg into a natural position, which if you're doing from below, that's give you a visual here. Her front leg being lifted up so that her pads of her feet are facing her belly, and her back legs being lifted out backwards, right? Just to get a good idea of what kind of position we're in. But I'm guiding her leg. I'm not holding it, pulling it, yanking it, repositioning it as much as I'm guiding and supporting. It's a different mindset. It is not as rigid as trying to hold on tight and move them around. Holding on tight is really uncomfortable, right? It's part of what dogs hate about grooming. So if we can hold on looser, but Chrissy, they'll move around. They won't let me. But the thing is we have to teach them that it's safe, right? Now, this is an older dog, and I'm only lifting her leg up about as far as she's comfortable with. So if she started getting a little fidgety, I'm going to listen to that. And what I mean by listen to that is I'm not going to push her past the point thinking that it's only about not wanting me to do it. Just thinking like, okay, are you comfortable in this position? Not quite. How about here? And back off a little bit more. I have to adjust what I'm doing within this dog's comfort zone. Okay? So that's exactly the way I look at it. And I want you to think about that we can adjust what we're doing within this dog's comfort zone. And it's not like she's going to be getting any better anytime soon. Older dogs are going to have these problems as time goes on. The better we address it, we're more able to help them be calm for it, because who knows how long she's going to be with us. Don't know. Maybe she has a whole lot more grooming in her future. And the dogs that are comfortable with us and know that we're taking time to try to make them comfortable when things might be sore, when things might hurt, are going to be much more pleasant to work on when things definitely hurt. And I think sometimes we forget that when we're talking about teaching dogs to be good for grooming. Now, groomers know that we're seeing dogs that definitely have health problems, but the rest of the dog world kind of forgets. They think that, teaching dogs to hold still for a vaccination or a blood draw is much more challenging. And in many ways it can be. But grooming needs are still going to be there with that dog with the luxating patellas, that dog who has had a spine surgery, that dog who has seizure disorders, that dog who has had multiple surgeries, or the dog who's super stiff, or the dog with a foot deformity and now their legs are super sore, right? They're still going to have grooming needs. So we need to be thinking about how to help them be comfortable and help them be comfortable when they might physically be uncomfortable. Like, let them trust us that we're going to try to do this in the gentlest way possible. And that's not being wishy-washy. That's just good business. Help keep that dog comfortable. That's part of humane practices. And the more we know about helping a dog be comfortable, the better we can do. Now, Here's another example that I had this week. So I do house call, but I'm not always doing house call. Sometimes I'm in a shop setting. And this was a dog that came in a month ago and was totally matted. Definitely a little dog that has been sitting in a house during COVID and has never really been out anywhere. An adult daughter dropping the dog off. And I'm like, even just passing the dog to me, the dog tried to attack. Like, ah! And it's a total burst of panic. Do you know when you can see the difference, right? This dog is totally panicked. She's like, oh. I'm like, yeah, how about you wait? Because this is only going to be a couple of minutes of us trying to get this dog used to us a little bit. But talking to owners about this is not going to be a full groom today. I understand that that's what you had hoped for. Did you know that your dog might have this kind of reaction to us? Well, it's my father's dog. Like, okay. So we need to talk to owners about it. But you know what? No. Yeah, she booked a full groom. No, I'm not going to give her a full groom. No. So come back to this week. It's been a month. This time Dad drops off. I'm like, but we haven't seen you for a month. And we talked to your daughter about like coming in once a week and like letting this dog get to meet and greet and get to know us a little bit and maybe work on a little bit at a time. And so I had to explain it again. That's okay, right? That happens. You do that with every new customer, right? But to tell him also, I'm like, this isn't going to be a full grooming today. Oh, like, yeah, no, right? We need to talk to our owners about what's reasonable, what's expected, and how we can get them there, right? How can we get you there? And the way we're going to get you there is I need to teach you more about how to work with your dog. We need to teach your dog that this is a safe environment to even be in, that he can be passed off to somebody, right? So I took the dog for 10 minutes. And that's exactly what I told his dad. Like, oh, we're not going to. He says, well, can you just, I know he needs a lot, but can you save his eyelashes? Like every groomer just rolled their eyes like, oh, what is it with the eyelashes? Your dog's a matted mess and he's feral. Not worried about his eyelashes. Probably not going to get scissors near his eyes. Anyway, I reached for the dog. And of course, owners, owners are going to be owners. Dog, he wants to hand him to me face first. I'm like, oh, no. And then his dog totally melts down. Like, ah! Freaking out. So Dad picks him up by the armpits, swings him around a bunch and says, no! It's like you just can't make this stuff up. Like, oh, okay. Well, let's calm down again because that's not going to teach him that this is safe. Well, what was I supposed to do? All right, let's calm down together because we want him to feel safe. Like, you can't just pass him to a stranger. I wasn't even reaching for him yet. He was just like, oh, here he is. And, oh, what happened? Oh, shake him around, yell no. So calming him down and calming his owner down. When I come back, I'm going to come back with a towel. And we're just going to wrap your dog in a towel. I'm going to cradle him, walk him around a little bit, see if I can get him calm in my arms. My goal is not to get him done today. He's not getting groomed today. He's going to get a little bit of brushing maybe, and we'll see if I can get some of that scissoring near his face, see if I can get a little bit of that out, which I actually was able to do. I was able to calm him down. But we have to be reasonable with people. But, to point out, this is not a dog who's ready for grooming. And if you have trouble with somebody, you have to really point out, like, this isn't what we do every day, right? Your dog owning peers have somehow managed to get their dog to be good for grooming. Maybe they pet them every day and bring them places and touch them all over. And, maybe their dog just never had an issue with it. Their dog is super trusting. But we need to address it with each individual owner and to help them understand there's a solution set, but you need to bring this dog in every week. Because if you come back next month, this dog is still going to be matted. This dog is still going to be exactly where we are right now. And we're going to tell you, no, I cannot just go through and shave down your dog. And I think that's really important for groomers to be thinking about. Even though there was a time when we would have said, well, we got to get these mats off. So what are we going to do? Well, let's put a muzzle on him and maybe an e-collar and maybe attach him to the grooming loop in this particular way and a groomer's helper and maybe put a strap underneath his bum so he can't fall down. This dog would be traumatized. This dog is already terrified, right? We can't push that way. If this is a medical emergency, he can go to this veterinarian and say, I have a matted dog and I feel it's a medical emergency because I don't feel like training him. Right? It's okay to be a little bit stern in your wording. Like, you need to teach your dog, right? Now, I did talk to him about, like, we can teach him a little bit, help him be comfortable. I need to teach you how to brush because clearly you're not brushing very well at home. And he's like, oh, yeah, and the thing is that this owner is really open to it. Now, we'll see in a week if he actually comes back and does the things and follows through. But he was really open to it. He's like, oh, so you're not just saying you can't do it. You're telling me what we can do to get it done, to work toward it. And I'm like, yes, because I'm committed to helping your dog be better for this. That's exactly what I would like, just as much as it's what's good for you and it's good for your dog. So let's help our owners understand by sometimes refusing the service they're asking for. No, there's no way this dog is going to be like, oh yeah, just hand him to me and we'll take him and, maybe when he's done screaming and he passes out, no. And I see it all too often. Groomers are like, oh my God, how am I supposed to get this done? You're not. There is training that needs to happen. There's meet and greets that need to happen. Maybe even go on the fast track if they live nearby and they're really willing to come in every day. Have them come in every day. I'd set it up for like once a week because I think most owners aren't able to figure out a way to get their dog in every day. But get them every day. But no, there's training that needs to happen. Those mats didn't happen overnight and they do not need to come off today. Right? So we can take our time, help owners understand, but animal welfare, right? Those mats are going to be a problem, but I can't work their dog into his first little heart attack just to take mats off because of a behavior issue. Let's calm down, help them through it. If you'd like more information, you can find me at Chrissy@happycritters.net, happycrittersdogtraining.com, or you can join the Facebook group Creating Great Grooming Dogs podcast or the Facebook page Creating Great Grooming Dogs. I really look forward to hearing from you.